and oranges. But he said, one thing you should remember, all of you, he said, the church is not a democracy. The church is not, which made us even more furious. We were young, we wanted to be heard. But it was an important lesson, not just in gratitude, but also in understanding how the church is. And it's not a democracy, And Jesus doesn't intend it to be a democracy. We'd all like to think that, we all could vote for something and we get our way, or we could follow a majority system, but the church isn't that way because Jesus didn't choose to found it in that way. The church has all kind of levels of consultation through which people can be heard. But it's not, I vote for this and I get for that. The church is not run by a committee. The church really is being run through the power of the Holy Spirit, invested in the person who's been given the authority. And we hear it today documented very clearly in the gospel, in that very precious moment when Jesus says to Simon, son of Jonah, you on this rock I will build my church. And he gives him the name Peter, the name of the first pope, and the rest is history. Now, Simon Peter was by no means perfect, very flawed individual, a big sinner, and yet a great saint. But that moment when he is given, really, reveals how the church is to be. It all comes as Peter makes his own confession, when he says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. That act of great faith, that act of great belief, that act of great trust was responded to by an act of great investment through the person of Jesus. And through that, the church that we know and love, and maybe sometimes even hate, came to be. And that is the way we live to this very day, built on a relationship of trust. Jesus trusted Peter, in spite of his faults and his failings, to do his bidding here on earth and to build the church in his name. And so to this very day, the Pope in Rome exercises that same authority. Cardinal Cupich, all the local bishops, and even little old me in my own way, and then even little old you in your families as you try to teach them the ways of the faith. That same authority is invested in each one of you. And your children trust you to make decisions, even if they don't agree with them. And you trust me to make decisions, even if you don't agree with me. And I have to trust Cardinal Cupich, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. Because it's a relationship built on trust. But it comes from Jesus at the end of the day. And that's what we're all about. So it's a wonderful reading today and a wonderful celebration as we acknowledge that sometimes in life we have to allow other people to make decisions for us, and maybe we don't agree with them. But we know somewhere in it all is the Spirit of Christ guiding us and holding us all together. And I think the Holy Spirit is probably doing quite a good job, because look at us all here. 2,000 years later, after Jesus said that to Peter, we are here now today, professing that same faith and saying, yes, this is the Christ, the Son of the living God. And once again, Jesus renews that trust in each one of us, the faith which has been given to us, not to hold on to, but to pass on. It's a precious and a beautiful gift that we have, that we celebrate, and we have to learn to exercise in our daily lives. But it is, of course, a temptation to think that, well, the country's run as a democracy, why can't the church be run as a democracy? Well, you know how democracies go, don't you, really? How much trust do you have in your politicians. We're asked to trust in Jesus, who is present among us, and his Spirit guides us in all things. This past week, I was asked to do something by the Archdiocese, and I didn't really agree with it, you know. And I was trying to sort of see if somebody else could do it instead of me. And I said to the Archdiocese, you know, well, can somebody else do this? You know, because it feels like maybe you're trying to throw me under the bus. And they said, no, we're here for you, Father. You know, we're here to support you in all of this, you know, but you're the pastor. And that shut me up, didn't it? Because, because that's little old me with my dose of authority, that sometimes you have to do things you'd rather not do. And sometimes parents have to do things they'd rather not do, but they do it for the good of their family. And we know what that's like. It's responsibility. But we trust the Spirit of Jesus is there with us to guide us in all of these things. So we hold firm to that today, and we celebrate it, you know, in the good and the bad. We trust that Jesus has got our back in all of these things. And it's the church that we know and we love, and it's who we are. It's who we are.